the periphery without nukes, and you realize, yeah, no, this makes sense, actually. This is totally valid. Totally valid. Hasan PIker blames Israel for October 7 at Qatar's WebSummit. The far-left streamer doubled down on his incendiary comments, claiming he has been speaking truth to power and claiming Israel played a significant role in how October 7 took place. Haha. Jewish insider. Keep it up, guys. Please read. Read what? Yeah, well, instead of reading that, let's just watch. So,
but just as a quick reminder, live audio translation is available on the WebSummit application, so make sure you open that up.
This is from my WebSummit introduction.
Fragmented news ecosystem with news available from more sources than ever before. However, this brings with it dangers. It can be hard to tell fact from fiction. And here to explore the opportunities and the responsibilities of covering the news in the age of social media, in conversation with Rafael Minder from the Financial Times, is a streamer and creator, Hasan PIker. So please welcome him to the stage.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, Hasan. Thanks so much for joining us. Thank you. Pleasure to be here in Doha, the Web Summit. I've been a full-time journalist now for 33 years.
Was Tristan Thompson at this? Yeah, I think so. I will say that I haven't heard myself yet on this, and I felt like I was doing a horrible job. And Rafael and I talked after because there was so much echo that we could hear ourselves like with double audio, and it 120x speed, please. Wait, why are you freaking out and saying 120x speed? Is it because you want to feel the experience of watching a live stream on YouTube? Is that why you're like 120x speed this, please? I want to feel like I can watch a live stream on YouTube for once, even though I'm on Twitch.
Almost as long as you've lived.
Yeah, by 1 year.
By 1 year, okay. So in a way, I want to start by asking you, you know, I've watched what you've been doing, and there's always this idea that you're a break with...
No pyro, Erica Kirk cooked you? That's true. I requested the Erica Kirky treatment, the Charlie Kirky treatment, and they said no.
A legacy mainstream media. But then watching you, you rely heavily on mainstream media. You're not really doing a lot of your own reporting. So how do you see yourself? As an extension of mainstream media, or are you something completely different?
I see myself as an extension of mainstream media because I always stress that I wouldn't be able to do what I do if there wasn't real reporting happening out there from legacy publishers and legacy media in general. So I think it's more so a symbiotic relationship. Now, of course, there are a lot of independent content creators out there who are much more antagonistic, I think, towards mainstream media and make a brand out of constantly opposing mainstream resources and mainstream news. But although I do engage in a healthy amount of media criticism, I always stress the importance that these outlets need to exist. Otherwise, I would have no idea what's going on around the world.
So, you know, we're here to discuss truth and the search for truth in media coverage. You know, that for me relies on getting the facts right. And it's not just about me getting the facts right. I have a system, we have a system in my newspaper, which means that anything that I write goes through two editors who review it to check, for example, whether I spell Hasan right, but also to get the context right and so on. And then if I'm dealing with allegations and so on, we have an...
The fuck? YouTube chatter says bad answer, shaking my head. The fuck do you mean bad answer, shaking my head? I think it was very good. It was a somewhat hostile. It was contentious. I wouldn't say it was a hostile interview, but it was a contentious interview.
it was definitely way more contentious when we talked about it beforehand. We like ended up debating on some stuff too off camera.
In-house lawyer who will also review that. And you're an unchecked operator, one-man unchecked operator. So
Yeah.
exactly what do you feel is your ability to actually get the facts right?
Yeah, so the same pressures that legacy publishers such as Financial Times exist for someone like myself as well. As a matter of fact, I have even a higher level of liability because I don't have the insurance, for example, that a newspaper might have. So in terms of my coverage, if I get something wrong, and there are instances where I get something wrong, we're human after all, I will apologize for it and I'll retract the statement. And there is this constant back and forth that's always taking place that keeps me as honest as possible with the audience. If there's something that I've gotten wrong, they'll immediately be like, this is something that is incorrect. And they'll send additional information, I'll verify it on the spot, and we'll continue with the coverage that way. But as far as the responsibility goes, it's still up to the individual, right? I don't have an editorial team. I don't have fact checkers that are working in real time. And it's just something that I have to make sure I care about. Some independent content creators don't, especially in this new media environment where everyone wants to be first to market. We do see a lot of people that either go along with biased narratives or sometimes refuse to verify the information that's coming out and immediately blurt it out because they want to be first to market. They want to get the maximum amount of attention possible. So it's unfortunately up to the individual, and I don't know what the best possible way of checking all of the independent resources are.
And what is your view on, I mean, if you're the first port of call for Gen Z to get the
You're the most mature guy in the least mature medium. You're like a generational ambassador speaking for the youngs to the olds. Yeah, I try.
news, I mean, how much time do you give yourself to fact check this news? I mean, like, you must be constantly wondering, like, I've got to be out there, give my views, but I haven't had time. I'm on my own. I don't know whether the actual report is even correct or not. So how do you deal with that?
Well, in many instances, I rely on mainstream reporting. So one of the things I do is I have a policy of not covering breaking news to the best of my ability, but I try to combat the misinformation that's coming out by going to the same resources that you would rely on when like a mass shooting happens, for example. I look at the police reports, I look at the official press conference that's released in the immediate aftermath of the shooting. I try to be as careful as possible because there's always this fog where even the official resources can get something wrong as well on the spot. And I try to be as critical as possible. And the reason why I dive into this kind of stuff is specifically to combat the bias.
He doesn't understand streaming, and they're not an extension of mainstream media. You are not an extension of media. It's not symbiotic. They receive nothing from you. Yes, it is symbiotic because they do receive something from me. They receive an audience, a broader audience that gets to see their reporting. And that's precisely the reason why when I go out to these places or when I meet journalists, they are so excited, especially Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera reporters were coming up to me left and right at the event that I was at, talking about how wonderful it is that I highlight their reporting with regular frequency, and they love that there are more eyeballs on that stuff. So if you're a journalist, if you're a reporter, you want as many people as possible to see your reporting, and I play a big role in that. So, you know, there's a reason why other independent news sources created by people that worked in mainstream news in the past, mainstream newsrooms in the past, like Dropsite, Zateo, and many others, will regularly talk about how wonderful it is that I offer a major platform to their reporting. And the same goes for a lot of the regular legacy press as well.
That a lot of people engage with nowadays, more so than ever before. I'm sure you've seen, independent outlets and Twitter especially, which is a horrible place for this kind of thing, where people will immediately decide that, let's say there's a mass shooting that takes place, people will immediately go, that's a trans person that conducted this mass shooting, with no evidence whatsoever. And in certain instances, especially with the explosion of AI, people will even make up the fake information in order to justify their point of view. So I try to go to real reporting and rely heavily on real reporting and rely heavily on primary sources to the best of my ability to make sure that this information is as accurate as possible.
Now, you know, I have to confess, I first heard about you because you got suspended on your platform on Twitch.
Yeah.
And actually, you recently again got suspended. I think you've been now 7 times, I think, suspended.
Yeah.
Maybe I've got the tally wrong, but
Yeah.
near
No,
enough.
it's 7.
It's 7.
I think.
Okay. So, are you wearing these temporary bans as a badge of honor? I mean, is this become part of your ability to say, I talk whatever I want about whatever I want to talk about, I will feel free to talk about it? And my question would be, in a way, do you think there should be red lines? I mean, do you recognize that banning you occasionally is a healthy thing?
I think terms of service is a good thing overall in order to foster more productive conversations, because in the absence of a rigorous application of terms of service, you have Twitter, right? Having said that, the existing terms of service can be manipulated. There's a lot of outrage
You can kind of see, right? Like there's definitely this like bias almost, where I got that from our initial conversation as well, where he was where he thought, you know, like, oh, you're a little bit of a provocateur, right? And I don't think it's because he doesn't like me or anything like that, but I think it's just the lack of understanding of the space, a lack of understanding of the space in general, and also their the idea that this is like a child's game that has destroyed this career that he has spent his entire life on.
That takes place, especially on the right, where I'm seen as like a primary vector of hate and enmity from a lot of right-wing outlets that will constantly try to get me deplatformed, and sometimes they actually reach a level of success. Having said that, I don't see my bans as a mark of courage or a badge of honor at all. I don't like being banned at all. I actually am constantly in fear of being deplatformed, because my job relies on reaching as many people as possible and try to educate them to the best of my ability. So when I do get banned, I can't do that any longer. And it's a real concern, especially when you have certain positions that are not exactly favorable, or certain positions, certain ideological positions that are not exactly commonplace in the Western world. These are real fears that I have to, work around with regular frequency.
So it's not a case of what P.T. Barnum said, there's no such thing as bad publicity as long as they spell my name right?
No, I do think that there's a case for bad publicity, because just like I mentioned earlier, my point of view is not exactly commonplace, and a lot of people, I think, are heavily propagandized against an anti-imperialist worldview, an anti-capitalist worldview, especially in the United States of America, and therefore I require a lot of charitability. And when things like this happen, that becomes the story in and of itself, and I find that to be unproductive in general. And I also feel like these sorts of things add up, and it causes people to think, oh, you're a charlatan, you're a provocateur, you're not invested in the truth, you're invested in being as loud as you possibly can be. And I think that does take away from my capacity as a commentator, rather than aids in creating an environment where it's a badge of honor.
When I started in journalism, I started on the wires, and in fact, we barely had a byline, and my bosses would say, your words should speak it's not about you, it's about what you've written. Now we've moved on, and of course, there's a lot more first-person accounting and stories written where the journalist is a protagonist. In your case, it's a step further. You know, I get to see pictures of you topless. I find out that, you know, you like working out. I hear about your dog and so on. Is this, you think, what connects you to your audience? Is it this feeling that although they don't know you, they have the feeling, I know this dude, you know, he's like me, he has the same left-wing ideology, or what is it that's most important? Is it the ideology, the opinions you have that connects you, or it's just this feeling that you're close to them?
I think both play a role in this, for sure. The way I look, the way I carry myself, how personable I come across to people. I think that plays a big role, but I think at the end of the day, it is my commentary that draws the attention. It is my opinions that make people sometimes rethink the way that they've seen the world. Like I said, it's not a worldview that they encounter, but maybe it's something that they feel deep down inside. And then when they hear someone like myself talk about these issues in a way that is agreeable, they go, oh yeah, I thought I was alone. This is the most common thing that I hear from my community is like, I live in a red neighborhood, I live in a red state, and I always felt so lonely about the way that I saw the world until I encountered your commentary, and I realized I'm not alone. There's a massive community out there of like-minded individuals. So I think at the end of the day, it is the commentary.
Now, you know, in terms of the personality and your image and so on, you know, one thing that jars a little bit is, you know, you've said you're a Marxist, you've been a Bernie Sanders supporter in past elections. At the same time, you've become a wealthy guy who bought a $2.7 million house.
More expensive now.
Sorry?
More expensive now.
Well, good for you. You see, so Donald Trump has got it right. Housing prices going up is good for people. No, I mean, but you know, your personality and these left-wing views and your commentary on inequality, how does that work when you're a Hollywood house owner?
Well, Bernie Sanders has 3 houses, and that's something that people constantly bring up as though this is a real point of contention. Look, when I didn't have a lot of money after college, and I had the exact same point of view, people would say, you're jealous of the wealthy, and that's why you are, you know, that's why you're a socialist, that's why you're a Marxist. Now that I'm rich, they say I'm a hypocrite. And at a certain point, you have to realize maybe it's the commentary and the comments that you're making. Maybe it's the fact that I'm saying people deserve more. People deserve more of the output that they contribute to. That's what's causing people to look for hypocrisy. Because my advocacy is not around making sure that no one has a home. And I have no control over the housing market in general. It's like, if at the time when I purchased my home in West Hollywood, if I had purchased the exact same home in Ohio, it would be much more affordable. I just chose to live in West Hollywood. I was living in West Hollywood already. I was renting there, and I had enough money. So I bought a house for myself and my family. I want everyone to be able to have the same, I want everyone to be able to have that same liberty, to have more autonomy in their workplace, to have more freedom in their lives. And that's what my advocacy revolves around.
Your revenues come literally from subscriptions?
Yes. So in terms of exploitation, it's inevitable. It's impossible not to engage in hyper-exploitative consumption.
I think you were meant to push back on the idea that your job is similar to that of a reporter, is valued only in terms of getting things right. The main area in which new media would ideally succeed where old media fails is not being funded by billionaires, not having editors or owners that tell you not to talk about certain things, having the ability to actually say what everyone is already seeing with their eyes. No, because I do see myself as complementary to mainstream news, and I do also recognize the real fear that this person represents. He's just misplaced it, or not even misplaced it necessarily against me, but there is a real resentment in old media against new media. But there's also an understandable fear amongst adults that new media also represents this like dangerous, unstable information landscape. And it's something that I fear as well. Okay? It's something that I am very cognizant about. It's something that I'm also worried about. It's something that I spend a good deal of advocacy around, speaking on, right? So that's the reason why I don't just like immediately dismiss or try to deflect his criticism and take it head on and try to explain to him in this circumstance that like I am somewhat different than what he thinks I am, and maybe to the audience that is also coming at this issue with the same perspective. Because you have to remember, a lot of you, by nature of being in this chat, are already completely aware of my commentary, completely aware of the space that I occupy, completely aware of what I'm trying to do. But a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people associate this sphere of influence with kick streamers, sometimes with Andrew Tate, with Clavicular, you know? And for that reason, they look at someone like myself and go, what is this guy's deal? What's he about? What's he doing? I'm speaking to those people in this moment.
Everyone has a phone here. I'm sure that if you were to go and look at the mining operations in Congo, you would be horrified at the conditions there. But the reality of the matter is it's impossible to avoid that hyper-exploitative structure. So we try to do our very best to limit the exploitation, at least in the revenue side. And the way I have set up my business, if you want to call it that, is the least exploitative way possible. I run a cooperative corporation. You met my producer.
Yep.
He has equal say and equal pay in the process. Outside of that, the only way that you can fund what I do is through voluntary subscriptions. I don't actually have any sort of limits on what you can and can't see. A subscription just is you saying, I like your commentary, I like what you're doing, I want to fund this operation, I want to keep you going. And I always openly admit that. I'm like, look, your subscriptions are what allow—
You could also talk about the fact that you kind of have a permanently 30,000 people watching that are kind of an editorial board that are permanently giving other perspectives and facts about what you're talking about. I did mention that in the beginning. I said it keeps me honest. Having real-time feedback from 30,000 people actually keeps me honest. More honest than you know, what other entities might do. Hasan is not a reporter. He's an external editor. Yes. When I'm talking to older people, the way I describe it is like I'm a commentator. I never say I'm a journalist. I don't say I'm an activist. I'm neither of those things, even though other people will constantly say I'm both of those things. I'm not. I'm a political commentator. This already exists in the professional world. This already exists in legacy media. You know, Jake Tapper exists. Anderson Cooper exists. There's also people doing color commentary on the side as well. You know, Van Jones exists. And that's my job. That's the role I see myself as occupying in this sphere. Of course, unlike CNN, I don't have a fuck ton of producers. I don't have fact checkers. And I don't have any editor sitting on top of me saying, you can't cover this. You should cover this in a certain way. There is no editorial control. I am beholden to no one, right? And that's my advantage.
To maintain editorial independence. If you choose to do so, you can subscribe to me for $5. Now I think it's in the hands of Twitch. So I think they increased the subscription to $7 now. Or you don't have to do that if you don't want to. I
just wish you, Brian Tyler Cohen, and others would be more than React Andes. We need outreach, get to the polls. 33% of U.S. voters don't vote. Thank you for this brilliant assessment 15-month subscriber that has been in here for 15 months and has decided that the real advocacy actually is about getting people to do voter outreach. Go vote. Yeah, as though we don't do enough get out the vote initiatives in this community, and even include in, I urge everyone here to go and do door knocking and phone banking, especially for a lot of these candidates as well. And yet, here you are coming back to the real issue on hand. I'm voting. I love voting. I tell people to vote all the time. I come when I vote, okay? I vote so hard all the time.
That don't even maintain any sort of control over my IP. So people in my community have created thousands of fan accounts where they will just take videos from the stream, chop it down, edit it, and re-upload it to their own YouTube pages, and then make money off of that as well. And there are a lot of people in my community that have actually been able to pay for their college education through this process. So I try to, like I said, limit the exploitative nature of any sort of providing goods or services to the best of my ability. But of course, there's still going to be people that say that's hypocritical because socialism means you have to be poor.
So, I started out in journalism not knowing who was reading my work. There weren't even the tools to monitor the viewership or the readership. Now we're in a different age, and in fact, I was surprised to see you last night commenting on the Grammy Awards and then suddenly saying, I've got 34,000 followers at the moment on Twitch, 20,000 on YouTube. So does that influence even what you're talking about? You're so close to the monitoring of who's listening and on what?
So the reason why I was talking about that in a lighthearted way was because I had just gotten banned, and in the aftermath of being banned off Twitch, I went and live streamed on YouTube for the first time ever, and saw tremendous success on this alternative platform, at least for me. And so now that I'm unbanned on Twitch, I actually...
W. March, incredible work capturing all these camera angles as a one-man team. Here's a coffee for you. W. March in the chat. Yeah, he did all of that. It's crazy. Hasan, if possible, you should do a meetup tomorrow at WebSummit for your community here. We're happy to have seen you in person and wish you safe journey back. I don't know if I'll have time to do that, chatter.
Actually live streamed on both YouTube and Twitch at the same time. I dual streamed for the first time ever, so we were monitoring it and having a little bit of light back and forth between the two different communities. But as far as like my care and consideration for my viewership and my numbers goes, at the end of the day, what I care about is maintaining my editorial independence and speaking truth to power. And the example I always go back to is in the aftermath of October 7, when my audience actually halved because a lot of people were not ready, especially in the Western audiences, were not ready for someone to say that Israel played a significant role in the in how October 7 took place. A lot of people were understandably horrified by the images that they were seeing on their screens, and they said, "This is not for me. I've enjoyed your commentary up until this point," and they left. But I did not. If I cared about viewership, I would have stopped right then and there, and maybe even reconfigured my commentary. I didn't do that. I stuck to my guns, and I knew what the truth was, and I kept covering what was going on in Gaza every single day for 2 years, and eventually the audience came back.
Well, Hasan, unfortunately, we're running out of time.
Yeah.
I wish you all the best. Stick to your guns, and I'm sure your viewers will stick with you as well.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This robot was all over. The real reason I felt this was really contentious is that it seems like you went completely off topic to grill you. Yeah, I don't know why we didn't actually end up talking about misinformation in the misinformation landscape, but he chose to do that. Black boots with white socks is neo-Nazi wear in Germany, brother. Those aren't those white socks. First of all, I don't have white socks on. You mean white laces? And I don't even have white laces on. Those laces are gray. Those are Rick Owens, bitch. Okay. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so I do think that there it was I don't mind having a light pushback or having a debate even. I enjoy it. It's just I felt like he was making it seem as though I was responsible for the misinformation on the internet, whereas I thought the conversation was going to be about how I choose to combat misinformation, and especially with how dangerous misinformation has gotten. And I think that like when they originally set it up, that's the goal. That was the goal from the organizers in general. I mean, I don't mind it though. I think it was a healthy and productive conversation. I think you did a good job of having explained to the audience, to people who don't know who you are, what your type of job is and how it connects to the media. Yeah. It's mostly for the olds, I think. But I thought it was fun. I thought it was a fun event in general. I thought it was a good conversation in general. He got more comfortable towards the end. I think your approach is helpful in getting real life actors across in a digestible way. Yeah, and apparently Jewish Insider caught wind of the speech. I guess they were following closely. So let's take a look at what their takeaway from this was. Once again, at this point, I feel like Jewish Insider has no motion whatsoever, and I'm